Hi everyone, this is Krista and this is Dorado, and today we're going to be talking about the evolving sport of working equitation. So if that's of interest to you, smash that like button and keep watching. If you're new to this channel, I post sporadically about everything really, but I mostly focus on horses, personal finance, and personal finance for equestrians and horse owners because that's of interest to me. I try to navigate this very cash and time intensive hobby while staying within budget and focusing on the training, care, and education of both myself and my four very unique, sometimes problematic horses. If you'd like to join me on this journey, feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell if you'd like to be notified every time I post a new video. And Dorado and I are a little bit being bothered by flies right now. It's kind of hot. It was a hot day. It's now getting into the evening, but we're going to just make do with this. Well, Dorado and I recently attended a working equitation clinic with a fairly local horse trainer named Carneiro, who resides out of a stable in Napa. Along with his knowledge in working equitation, he is also an FEI dressage rider and trainer. We had a great time learning a couple of new things, and since Dorado's career as a dressage horse is somewhat limited due to some physical constraints he has, we've decided to mix up the game a bit and branch out into other areas. This clinic was offered locally, and I thought it might be fun to give it a try. Are these flies really bothering you, Dorado? I think we're going to take a time out for a moment and use some fly spray. Now, I don't know too much about this discipline, but I consulted Professor Google and found out that the competitive form of this discipline contains 4 different areas of performance. One is working dressage, and we're pretty familiar with that because we've been doing it for 13 years. We're not the best at it, but we keep working at it. Ease of handling with obstacles, which was new for us. Speed work, which we really didn't do in the clinic. And at the highest levels, cattle handling. We haven't done that either. Competitive working equitation is not currently governed by the USEF, the United States Equestrian Federation, which governs most of the other types of equestrian disciplines like dressage, Western pleasure, the Arabian sports, all that stuff. However, working equitation has its own governing organization in the US called Working Equitation United, which was formed in 2016. The actual discipline of working equitation originated in Europe in the mid-90s, but its roots are in countries that use horses for ranch work and use classical training principles as part of the process, similar to traditional vaquero horsemanship. The great thing about the sport is that you can ride in either English or Western tack, and you don't have to own a big, fancy, moving dressage horse, which wows the judges or the audience. In fact, Dorado, who's about 17 hands tall, I felt was at a disadvantage compared to some of the smaller horses at the clinic. For one thing, with the gait, I actually had to bend down to do the gate, and it actually puts me in a position that is not optimal to open a gate. I'm on the wrong seat bone, and we have to just adjust for that. So the smaller horses have an advantage in that respect. Similarly, with some of the other obstacles, like we had some barrels that we went through and some poles, and they placed them fairly close together. So if your horse is small and agile, it's usually a little bit easier. With a big horse, you kind of have to make sure that they have enough engagement and collection to be able to maneuver around those poles fairly easily. Dorado is okay with that, but we're a little bit out of shape as far as our level of dressage, so it was a little bit more difficult for us. The type of horse that excels best at the sport appears to be Iberian horses, like Andalusians and Lusitanos. They combine a steady temperament and agility with an uphill balance that is capable of engagement for the dressage portion of the sport. However, any horse can do this, and many horses have excelled at this discipline, including quarter horses, mustangs, warm bloods, thoroughbreds. I'm not sure about Arabs, but I'm sure there's some Arabs that do it too. At this part, Dorado and I aren't even thinking about competition. We just basically went to the clinic to have fun and learn a few things. And it's really great for horses, whether you want to compete or not, because a lot of what you do with the obstacles can translate to trail riding or other types of things that you and your horse may encounter during riding. I just wanted to share some of the footage with you. I'm gonna apologize beforehand because the quality of the footage is not great. I got this from a friend and trainer at the barn that hosted the clinic. She said it was okay if I posted it to my YouTube channel, so I have permission. And I just wanted to give you some thoughts about what I experienced during the clinic and how I tried to ride my horse and what I've learned. So with that, let's go ahead and look at the clinic footage.
So in this exercise, I am doing some poles. And in this exercise, Carlos emphasized the fact that we should not overstep the line between the poles, which means that to do this exercise correctly, you have to make the turns relatively sharp. And of course, sharp turns require a higher level of engagement of the horse in order to maintain the quality of the movement. In this clip, I am using a garrocha to pick up a ring from the bull cutout and drop it in a bucket. The garrocha is a pole that was used by the Doma Vaquero Spanish tradition to either tend cattle or perform in bullfights. I pick up the ring and I screwed up and I turned the wrong direction. You are actually supposed to turn around in a circle around the bull. Of course, Carlos corrected me. Dorado is not familiar with the garrocha, so I started out with a smaller than standard pole. Some horses are a bit uncomfortable when first being introduced to this, so it's wise to start out slowly. I also thought about working with a ground spotter, but even that can be a bit sketchy or dangerous for the ground person if the horse reacts by spinning or kicking out. I actually came across this wonderful blog post by Dr. Jenny Lynn Grimmett that describes how to first introduce the garrocha to your horse in hand, then use a spotter, then use a smaller stick on horseback, and eventually a standard size garrocha. I will link the article to the show notes below. This time I am doing my second attempt, and as you can see, the process is a bit smoother than the first time. Repetition and practice makes perfect, and we are becoming a little bit more experienced and better with this exercise. As we're approaching these barrels, we're going at a pretty forward pace. My half halts are not very effective, so I pull on Dorado's reins to slow him, resulting in him curling his head behind the vertical and transferring his weight to the forehand. My turns through the barrels are wide. If I were to repeat this maneuver, I may work with him beforehand on getting him more responsive to my seat aids during half halts and may approach the barrels at a slower pace so I don't have to resort on using a huge dramatic half halt before the beginning of my turns through the barrels.
Well, that's all the footage that we had of the clinic. We also did a box obstacle, a bridge, and we attempted to do a gate, which consisted of 2 poles with a lead line stretched across. Now, we have done a gate here, which consists of an actual gate, like what you would open to go into a fence. But with the 2 poles and the lead line, I have a feeling that Dorado suspiciously thought it looked a lot like hot wire. So he was a bit apprehensive with the gate at the clinic. And then his clinic partner, Bosco, abruptly left the scene, leaving us to navigate the gate by ourselves, which threw him into a bit of a overloaded bunny basket. And if you don't know what that is, I have another video, which I'll link above, that explains that concept in great detail. So again, I hope you liked the video, and I hope you learned something new. And if you like it, feel free to give us a thumbs up. We really work hard at making these videos. If you would like to see more of this type of video, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell if you'd like to be notified every time I post a new video. As always, stay inspired, think outside the dressage court, and bye for now.